We have 7 plans on the agenda, and then a couple hazardous tree reports. The first topic will be 138 Patton Lane. Is there a representative here for that? Okay. If you could please step to the podium, identify yourself, and explain what your plans are.
Okay. Good evening. My name is Hayley Bauhaus. I'm the wife of the owner of 138 Patton Lane. We were here 2 months ago with our survey, and it was actually missing the trees. So our surveyor has now placed the trees onto the survey, and you should all have a copy of that. Unfortunately, it doesn't show very well on the projector. They're quite faint. So we are.
The last plan I have for 138 pardon me for a second as I review it again. Was you want to build a
3-car garage.
Okay.
There was an existing carport there.
Correct.
Right.
Are any trees impacted by this project at all?
No, they're not.
Okay, so this is just strictly the fact that it's a soil intrusion, if you want to call it that, that's bringing us before us.
Yes. So the soil will remain on the property.
Okay. Do you have? Okay, I'm sorry. I didn't get this plan.
We had percolation tests done. There should be.
Okay, I'm sorry, I did not receive this prior to the meeting. Your stockpile for your soil, is that, okay, I see it now.
And part of the soil as well will be distributed. There are quite some dips in the property all around. So some of the soil will be used to kind of fill in some of those gaps.
And when you say there's dips,
It's on a slant.
okay.
It's on a slant, and there are just some, yeah. On the front here, there's like a dip there that could be quite nicely. There's a dip there that could be quite nicely filled in by some of the soil.
Okay. And that's not going to affect any trees either, right?
No, it isn't.
And the construction of this garage and the removal of the existing, what's your plan to get your equipment in and out?
Well, we're very lucky because there is an existing here. This is a driveway.
Mm-hmm.
Which used to come to the original carport here. So there is already a driveway there. A concrete driveway.
Okay. How much topsoil is being kept on site? Do you know?
All of it. We're keeping all of the topsoil. We're
Okay.
keeping everything.
Do you have any sense of cubic yards or?
I think wasn't that on here?
Again, I'm sorry I didn't see this until just now.
somewhere.
Should be on the chart. Where does it say?
Okay, 73, so that's the equivalent of approximately 2.5 triaxle dump trucks. You know, perhaps the area in which you're proposing to put the topsoil stockpile, you may want to suggest a tree protection fence around the trees that are somewhat in that vicinity. I see a 12-inch Japanese maple, which is a significant sized tree, 12-inch pine, 6 apple, just to make sure that that topsoil pile does not rest across their root systems
Sure.
or be affected by the construction machines that will get that topsoil to that site.
Certainly, we can do that.
Okay?
Yep.
Could we get, Howard, should we have some tree protection on that, the top side? Is that the north side of the property? I have a 15-inch tree, a 15-inch pine, where the silt fence is getting installed. Maybe just wrap those couple trees up.
Yeah, sure, that makes great sense as well, Jim.
Sure.
And the tree protection fence ordinance revision is different than it used to be. It's now chain link fence with metal stakes every 10 feet. It's not the old plastic netting kind of tree protection, so as long as you're aware of that.
Okay.
So
Okay.
this applicant's good, can proceed to the grading permit, and we'll make sure those items are included.
Yeah, those are just minor conditions.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Uh, 123 Cambria Court.
Good evening. My name is Michael Bradley. I'm an attorney in Delaware County, and I'm here tonight on behalf of David and Ann Canoff, the owners and the builders of this new dwelling. And as far as the changes from the plan that you had before, I have Sean Swanson, who is the builder involved in this project, and he can explain the additions to the plan that were made at your suggestion from last month. And I think that we met most of them. Sean, do you want to explain the changes in the plan from last month?
Sure. I think we had a few things that we were missing from our plan last time. Obviously, the first one was just putting down the species of these maple trees that are on the left-hand side as you're facing the front of the house. They are all Norway maples there. We also did reconfigure the driveway to pull away from that drip line. We also took out the tail that was where the existing garage is now, and we put the tail in the back, in the backyard. We also we have no intention of doing any grading or disturbance on the left-hand side of the driveway to the property line. And we put a curb there in order to keep that shed, whatever shed water comes off of there, from going onto the driveway.
So Sean, as I understand it, there'll be very little disturbance of the surface then near the property line on the left, is that right?
That's correct. We'll put in the tree-safe fence, which you see we added right there on the driveway line. There is an existing driveway there now, so we'll put that on before even we start the demo phase, and we'll stay out of that area during the construction. We really don't need to be over there anyway, even through framing, even till the end. Just another general note, just from the original application, we are not planning on taking any trees down.
Has there been any discussion with your neighbor? These are all Norways. Some of them are on your property, some are on theirs. Some of what you're doing, especially if you're putting a curb in, could affect some of their Norway maples.
Well, first of all, the curb, I just want to specify, it's a very small rolled curb that's in the asphalt. There is no footing to it or anything like that. It's just basically any kind of little bit of water that comes up to the driveway, it'll stop it there. So I don't think it's going to be any more disturbance with the rolled curb than it would be with a regular driveway. And again, there's a driveway there. The one thing we would consider is trying to leave, the stone that's underneath the driveway that's existing as much as we can, try to not disturb that area.
Yeah, particularly with the existing garage where you have that 32-inch tulip poplar. That's going to be a very sensitive issue.
Yeah, really the only disturbance there is going to be taking the garage out, and then we'll be putting topsoil back in that area. There's not going to go anything else there. Right now, it's like a old cinder block foundation with a slab and then it's frame on top. So we'll take it out by hand. We don't have to take a machine through there. It's just going to fall apart with, as soon as we start hitting with hammers. So we should be able just to take it delicately out around that tree. I'm not really worried about it. It's been there a long time. It's falling apart now. It really should come down anyway. It's not very safe.
Would there be any sense to evaluating that 32-inch poplar from the township's point of view?
Mr. Chairman, so this is the 32-inch poplar that's off the corner of the existing garage.
Correct?
My thought is, the applicant, I think, has pulled that driveway pretty far over. They're showing their tree protection fence. Yes, I know there is a swale that runs in the back, but my opinion is of that, I think I would recommend that we do not have the tree evaluated, let them proceed as noted on here. I think they've listened to the Shade Tree Commission from last time, and I think they've done as good a protection as you can, knowing that you're working within an existing site. So, just my opinion.
I might say a lot of the reconfiguration of the driveway was done with that particular tree in mind.
Absolutely.
Yeah, no, I understand, but what I just heard is that the condition of that tree is not particularly great to begin with.
No,
He was saying
I'm
the
sorry.
garage.
I meant the garage, sir. I did not.
garage is-
not
I'm
the
sorry,
tree.
I'm sorry.
No, the garage is just, it was built a long time ago. It's dilapidated. It's an old wood frame that's rotted, and that's what I was referring
The
to.
tree's in good shape, right?
Yeah, the tree's actually in good shape.
So it's just the garage.
I think we could add the stipulations, as the chair has done in the past, that in the demolition, maybe a backhoe is used where you're pulling that down and you're not running over, because we know that that garage is under the drip line and on top of those roots. So we don't want a loader or a skid steer just going in there and tearing it up, and maybe We can put some stipulation on the plan that a backhoe that's going to reach in there, pull this off, pull the floor off. Not perfect, but better than having it just completely run over.
We have no problem with that. Literally, I could take some of it down by hand once we get close to the tree, because it's cinder block, so we literally can break it apart with hammers and pull it out.
My concern, that is a heritage tree, so.
Well, could we sequence that, that installation of that tree protection fence? First, to incorporate the, what would it be, the west side of the garage, up to the poplar and then behind it, so we don't have equipment on the other side of the poplar. The garage comes down. What was your sequencing on the installation of the remainder of this tree protection fence?
The tree protection goes in before demolition, all of it. So
Well, how are we going to get the base of the garage out if the tree protection fence is between the garage and the drive?
that's just the way, unfortunately, that's the way that they inspect it. If you want me to wrap it, I literally could put it up. I can do whatever you want. I can put it up in any
Well,
point in
that's what I'm
time.
saying. You got to get the
But
garage.
typically before the grading permit is issued, they look at the erosion control and the tree standards.
But as it is now, the tree protection fence goes through the existing garage. So you got to get the garage out.
Oh, right.
Before
It
you
would
put
come on
tree
the
protection in.
outside, and then
So
we'd have to probably move
Kick
it.
the tree protection to the west, to the poplar, and then back it out. And then when you get the garage out, continue that tree protection presently.
Okay.
So you have 2 sections of tree protection, one to do the actual demolition, and then come back with your tree protection crew again and have them extend that along that driveway where it is presently.
That makes perfect sense to me. No problem.
I'm good.
Okay, with those conditions, you're good to go.
Thanks, guys.
Thank
Appreciate the
you.
time.
Mr. Chair, 115 Strafford is up next, and we just had their conditional use hearing last week. So literally, these plans have just been delivered to us, so they're different from what's in your packet. I'd like to give each of the members a set of plans, and because I believe, Mr. Erickson, your presentation is based on these plans? Yes, it is. So you can have the latest and greatest.
Thank you.
So it doesn't really make sense. And they're dead.
Oh, my goodness. Another set.
Yes.
Mr. Erickson, are you on sheet 9?
Yes.
Okay, so we're all on sheet 9?
Yep, but what we're probably going to do is I'm going to start, I'll introduce the project a little bit, and then the landscape architect, and we'll probably start with the demo plan, which will describe the existing conditions. All right, good evening, gentlemen. My name is Bo Erickson, and I'm here with my development at 115 Strafford Avenue. This is a development that we have been working on in Radnor Township now since March. We've gone through several meetings with the Planning Commission, the Board of Supervisors, and the Zoning and Hearing Board. We have worked very closely with our neighbors, and several of them are here today. And this is our plan as it stands now. We're building 11 carriage homes under density modification on the old Villa Strafford site. I'm here with Mike Wagner, who's my landscape architect, and Chuck Dobson, who's my civil engineer. And I'm going to start by letting Mike Wagner take you through the existing conditions on the site and then take you through how he has developed the landscape plan for our development. And he'll present 2 plans to you.
Good evening, gentlemen. How are you today?
Thanks. Thank you.
The plan that you have in front of you, which is the tree survey plan, I was asked to put together after some meetings with the civil engineer and then also the developer. We were asked to go out and do a tree survey to evaluate the existing conditions of the existing trees that are already out there. We put together this plan, and I also put together a tree survey report, which I don't think you have a copy of, which detailed a list of all the trees on the site that were to be removed and the reasons for them to be removed, and so on. If you'd like, I'd be more than happy to go through the whole thing with you and tell you exactly what we found or what I found and the reason for us for removing them. I also have documented pictures, which came in the package for the conditional use. So the township already has these, and basically what they show is the reason for we're removing them. So if you do look at the plan, the existing trees out there already had number tags on them. They had some blue tags. Somebody had already been out there and did an evaluation at a previous time. Not all of the trees were tagged, but the majority of the larger heritage trees and some of the smaller trees along the eastern property line had already been tagged with numbers. And they corresponded to some of the numbers here. We can get you this report if you'd really like to see it. But this pretty much dictates or details what we found out in the field. So if we were to start on the far corner over by Strafford Avenue, we have a line of a combination of red maples and Norway maples. Now these trees are above the 30-inch caliber that are required for the heritage trees, so they come into play. But through our evaluation and also our on-site observations, we've noticed that the majority of them, or actually all of them along that line, are either dead, dying, or in decline, some being hazard trees to a point where there are large limbs hanging over the property line that could fall at any time.
Excuse
Just
me.
as an observation.
I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt, and I pardon, Mr. Chair. Would you want me to make copies of that report so you can follow along? I'll do that real quick.
I think it would be advisable that we have that information.
Now, we don't have that plan that you're looking at right now, right?
You should have this plan? Yes, you do.
You do. You
What's
do.
that titled?
That's tree survey plan? That's a
Demolition.
I'm sorry to interrupt, I just thought it would help things.
Okay.
You guys had that.
Got you. And can you show us what trees can you point out the trees you were talking about initially that were Norway maples, or just so we have an idea where you're talking about?
These first three, right next to, on the northern property line
Right,
between
got
the
it.
existing parking lot and Strafford Avenue.
Yeah,
The first ones were Norway maples, and this right here shows a picture of the one on the corner. As you can see, the top is pretty much died out of it, being this part of it. So this tree is definitely in decline and is a hazard. Also, I noticed too, I think in your ordinance too, that Norway maples are considered an invasive species, as are in the majority of the townships around here. The trees are large. They've been there for a long time. They've been along a parking lot. This one definitely is in decline. As we work our way down, I have other pictures too that show large gaping wounds, cracks in some of the larger branching of the existing trees as we work our way down. All these photos do document large areas, large scars, large decayed areas, areas where large branches had either been cut off or broken off that are now in decay and then now have decayed almost to the heartwood, which then makes that tree susceptible to falling over, cracking, and then breaking. Additionally, the red maples, which as we go further down, you can see this one right here. This one has two very large cracks in it, or very large scar holes that are now decayed, and this is only 10 to 12 feet up from the tree, so this makes this more of a hazard because a nice big wind it could topple over. This is another one. This is number 85, and when you get the sheet, you'll see that. You can see the large scar that comes from the bottom. This is all decay material along this side going over the property line. So this is definitely a hazard tree. One next to it, number 84. Again, you see this large decay spot. What this tells me now that this tree has now been pretty much undermined and ready to snap off. Now, will it snap off next year or next week? We don't know that. But as you can tell, not only by this scar, but also by the other side, a large branch has been taken off, cut off, or broken off, and now that is starting to decay. Another red maple, this one too, another hazard tree. Very large decay spot right here. This branch could break off at any time, so it becomes a real big hazard. We have some additional broken branches here, which will just lead to some more decay.
Was that done by a certified arborist, the
Pardon?
inspection?
I did it, I'm a registered landscape architect.
Okay, because that last tree you called a red maple was actually a silver maple?
This one right here?
No, the tree after that. Yeah.
No, they're not. No, they're not. They're red maples and Norway maples. We could go back out there. I could bring the branches.
Actually,
I drove through the site. I saw all silver maples when I drove through the site the other day.
just while we have a break, there's more that the applicant's going to have to do. I don't know if it's in the full set of plans, but you're going to have your tree survey with the trees numbered, species.
We have that.
Is that all in the full set? It's not
It's
on
all-
the 4 and 9?
That's all on the demolition plan sheet number
Okay.
4.
That's the one that was just handed in
Yep,
tonight?
everything's called out on that, and then this
Okay.
also corresponds to all the numbers that we found on the blue tag.
Okay. Is every tree tagged?
No, not every tree was tagged.
Okay, that's another step you have to take, because our arborist will be going out to the site, and the tree tags are gonna have to match up for us to go and inspect. So just, I don't mean to interrupt you, but we had a break. So moving forward, whether you're coming back to here or going to planning commission or wherever we stand in the whole conditional use process, that's something that has to be done, because our arborist will go out, he's a certified independent arborist. He's going to compare your notes to what he sees, and he will compile a review letter based on that either concurs or does not with this, and that will go to the Shade Tree Commission, so.
We can do that. We'll get tags, and we'll just, the ones that don't have tags, we'll just add tags to them. Does that work for you? Will that work?
That's fine. You can use old tags, new tags, just as long as everything's tagged.
Yes, okay, we will do that, no problem. And then as we work our way towards the eastern side of the property, we run into some of the mulberries. For a development like this, we look at mulberries as not a very aesthetic tree for this type of development. And some of these trees also aren't of very good shape, we'll say. And this is a picture of the majority of the mulberries that we're looking at. And they are not quality specimens that we would like to have for this caliber of property, a project that we're working on. And those are the ones that are along the back side here. This Norway maple is in extreme decline and will be taken out no matter what. It is actually dying. As we work our way along the western property or the eastern property line towards the neighbors, we've run into a couple trees along the property line that did have tags on them. This one being the one on the corner of the tag number 96. This is a Norway maple. And as you can see, this one doesn't really show from the picture, but this one's leaning over the neighbor's property. So now it's become a hazard not only to our property, but also to the neighbor's property. And plus, if you can see, there's a large crack on the top of this plant. So this now has become a bigger hazard. As we work our way down, as you can see, this is another shot of a Norway maple. Aesthetically, this plant won't fit into the development that we're trying to put in. We're looking to put in better specimen plant material that'll work for the caliber of this. This plant also has a scar on the backside, and it's out, and it's also leaning away from the hedgerow. As we get to some of the larger heritage trees that are along the eastern property line, we're going to be saving all of them except one that was requested by one of the neighbors, which is tag number 92. That has already caused extensive damage or damage to the neighboring garage with Nishan and Nancy Desmarone's garage, and also some larger limbs has fallen into the neighbor next door, Leslie's house. And she requested that we look at removing that tree just because it is already a hazard. There is some dead branching within that tree further up that potentially could become a hazard as we move into the winter time. Some of the other trees that we're removing, the ailanthus and the black locust, the ailanthus is an invasive species, comes from Japan. Aesthetically, and it's not a quality tree. And plus those trees, as you can see, they're leaning out from the property line. So they become an issue with the possibility of snapping off because of the amount of leaf foliage at the head of the plant and the instability at the base of the plant. The black locust on the corner of the property right here, that was a request from the neighbor again to remove. That plant, as you can see here, is totally leaning out and also crowding into the existing 42-inch red maple that we're trying to save there. Removing that, opening that up, and devining some of the vines that have grown up on that large red maple will definitely benefit the larger tree. As we work our way around the property, we have a stand of white pines running in the center of the property, which will be saved. The erosion control sediment plan shows tree protection fencing around them. What we would like to do, and what I'd like to do actually, is there is one mulberry intertwined within one of those white pines, which we'd like to remove. It'll let the white pine grow more effectively and will eventually not be choked out by the mulberry that's growing into it. Mulberries mostly are bird dispersed, so obviously a bird was sitting on there when it did its thing, dropped a seed, and the plant came up. Now, as we work our way around the southern part of the property, we ran into multi-stemmed mulberries and also a multi-stemmed walnut, which, if you can see by this picture here, this being the mulberry and this being the walnut, these trees have been hacked off or pruned at some other time. You can see by the amount of different trunks that have spread out, and then also some of the breakage that has taken off. Again, for the quality of this development and what we'd like to do by adding additional plant material, these trees just don't fit into that. And then also being in the condition that they are, we think that it would be more appropriate to remove them and then put some additional nicer specimen plant material in it. As we move our way down more towards the parking lot, there's an existing 25-inch Norway maple. That plant is half dead. This is the front side facing our property, but the back side, as you can see, there's no foliage on any of the large leaders that are leading up to the top of the plant. This plant is in decline, and we propose to remove it, again then replacing it with better specimen quality. This is a picture of the trunk of that plant, and as you can see, it has been hacked and then also rooted out and suckered out in some locations, forming some very possible hazardous conditions where it could crack very easily. As we work our way around to the backside, there is one Chamaecyparis that sits along in a corner all by itself. Out of the majority of trees along the back, this is probably the healthiest of the tree. We looked at probably trying to save it, and we possibly could if we maybe minimize some of the grading. but we could then use that to work into our landscape plan. I'm working with the civil engineer to see if that's a possibility. But at this point, it's slated for removal because of how close it is to the existing building. And then as we work our way further down, we run into a 24-inch sassafras. That plant is dead. As you can tell by this was taken 3 weeks ago. All the leaves are brown, and there really is no canopy left to it. Next to that, we have a spruce.
Excuse me, is that sassafras on your property or your,
It's
And-
on the fence line.
okay?
Where it's showed is probably right on the property line. But it's a hazard tree, so it should be taken down no matter what, even if it isn't on the property because of its location. The next one is a Norway spruce. This plant looks like the top had been broken out of it. And this is a picture of the top, and you can see we have roughly 5 to 6 new leaders coming out of the top, which makes this tree unstable and also becomes a hazard at the top because these are now breaking points at the top of the plant. This plant is also, if we do remove it, we can then start to infill and increase our screening between the new townhomes and then also the existing enterprise. The large 36-inch ginkgo, we are saving. Gorgeous tree, great tree. My only concern is has it been impacted by the parking lot, but probably not. It looks extremely healthy, and we will definitely save that. That is something that the developer really wants to do at this point. At the end of it, we have a Japanese maple, multi-stem Japanese maple. Unfortunately, a third of the tree is dying and is dead and or dying. This back part of it, there's a large split down here because it's a multi-stemmed. We are going to remove that, and we are replacing it with additional street trees. What we're also doing too is there is an existing arborvitae hedge along this corner of the property. This picture shows the arborvitae hedge, and it also shows the Japanese maple. We are going to try to save that arborvitae hedge, but we're going to end up beefing it up with some additional plant material, i.e. some more flowering shrubs, some evergreen shrubs, and then also some flowering trees. These other pictures are the pictures of the neighbors' trees. This is just to get you an idea, because your ordinance asks for anything 10 feet off of the property line. And what I've done is I just did a little random search of his property and came up with a couple pictures that I wanted to show. This first picture looks at the trees that are in the back here where the storm sewer is. And as you can see, especially these large red maples here and the Norways behind them, they are in decline. Could be for a number of reasons. Could be construction activity, could be old age, disease. We didn't go into a further inspection of that, but just by the look of them, they are in decline. This one right here, this tree is the 30-inch Norway maple up here. As you can tell, you can see fungus is growing up and down the trunk. So this tree is basically in decline. It's on its way out. Fungus is a key indicator of the death of a tree. This is another picture of one of this gentleman's Norway maples. It looks like a healthy tree, but half of the tree has been lopped off at the top, snapped off in a storm. These are all suckers growing out of the base of the tree, and you can also see the large scar that is there. And we're just bringing this up for information for if the neighbor has an issue, saying that we might be disturbing some of their trees. As you can see, his trees are in decline, and we don't want to be held responsible if they do pass and then have to be replaced because they were at the end of their lifespan. No, they're not within 10 feet of the property line, but we decided to put that in there anyway just for additional information. So after we'd done the tree evaluation, we went back in and then we looked at the landscape plan. And what I was asked to do,
I'm sorry, I have one question before you get off the demo plan,
Okay.
if I may. So if I'm reading your chart right, there's going to be 28 trees to be removed, correct?
correct.
And then how many are actually staying on the site? How many will be remaining? I mean, are any, or is the site cleared?
We are saving 4 of the largest trees. The majority of the smaller ones, the 12 inches, the Norway maples, are being removed.
You're
Excuse me,
saving the
and all the pine
pines.
trees are staying too.
Okay. So we're removing 28, and you're letting, what, 6, 8 remain?
10.
10?
Do we have a condition report on the trees that you're saving?
Yes, it's in this report.
What I'd like to note to the board, I'll give you a little quick history on this. Mr. Erickson was in before the Board of Commissioners for a conditional use hearing. That did occur. He will be at one point coming to Planning Commission, and he is now before you folks. So the possibility, this plan has changed since the original submission. The possibility exists that it could, Mr. Erickson could tweak it. What I would request the applicant do, based on this plan that we just got, and I don't know if you have it because we literally just received it. Oftentimes, this commission and myself like to see the proposed features on the plan in addition to the trees that are being removed. In that way, they have the ability to perhaps ask you to slide, juxtapose, or move something along. But the way this is drawn up, we have a demo plan, and then we have a proposed planning and improvement plan. So it's very hard to get an idea when I look at tree number 67 and just where does that come into play, or actually tree, tagged 81, is that in the road? Is it being removed because of the cartway? So if the board decides to have you come back, I would request that Mr. Dobson juxtapose a couple of layers in the plan set and be able to show us that, if that's okay with this commission.
Yeah, I'm fine with that recommendation. The other concern I have is some of the trees that you're recommending that you want to preserve are in with, it doesn't show up on either of the plans you showed us tonight, but the previous submission suggests there's a significant amount of grading that's taking place.
These are the trees that we're saving.
Yep.
Along here, and then also it shows up, this one shows up down there.
Right.
Now, this plan hasn't been changed yet to move the inlet away from this tree. We haven't gone back and revised it, it's the first time you've seen that. But we've minimized grading. I mean, we pulled the grading back.
Yeah, but I'm sorry, when I look at your scale and I look at the way you're proposing your grading, there are significant concerns.
Are you saving both that 38 and the 42-inch red maples? I can't quite tell.
Down at the
12
bottom?
Yeah, down the bottom where the black locust is.
Yes,
You're
yes, we
saving
are.
both those red maples, right?
Yes, we are. The next one up is the 30-inch we're removing, and that was more because of the neighbor issue, because of an issue they've already had with it. And then, yes, number 9 and number 93, 92 get switched. And then we're saving the other two on top of it. And they're all large red maples.
Could you scale out the distance of that ginkgo you're trying to save to the side of your building? The 30-inch ginkgo on the south side?
Have I scaled that out?
Yeah.
Not yet, but we could.
You mean a 36-inch ginkgo?
It's getting lost down there. I can't really see what it's.
Yeah, we're roughly 15 feet from the trunk of that
Okay.
to that. Now, with that said, there's an existing parking lot that's right there now. As you can see on the demo plan, it's roughly the same distance to where the building will be. It is our hope and our intent to save that tree.
Where do you plan on putting that, the pipe, that's going through it presently?
Chuck?
I don't know yet. I was, subsequent to the submission of the plans that showed all the stormwater management features, further discussions with the neighbors and with my client indicated that that tree was to be saved. So I actually need to revise the location of that. Not only do we need to move the structure out of the drip lines, but I need to also move any grading out of the drip lines as well. But that is certainly an acceptable condition to me, and I'm well aware that I need to address that as we move forward.
So if we move away from the demolition tree removal plan, we can move into the landscape plans that we put together. The first plan I want to look at is the one that was compliant. This plan we put together to follow the ordinance by the letter by putting in the material that's required, i.e. the shade trees that are required by the removal of the heritage trees. This plan represents that plan. And as you can see, we've pretty much forested whatever we could with the space that we had left open for that. This plan, be it compliant, would make the site a wooded site then. And having talked with the residents and gotten their feel for what they want, this was a direction which they didn't really want us to go into. But we thought it would be a good idea to show a compliant plan to the township to show that we can actually comply with what's needed by the requirements of the ordinance. So this plan, like I said, is in full compliant. And what it also does, though, too, it fills in the requirement of the replacement trees that are required. We were up to roughly 84 trees that we needed to replace, and out of that, there's a percentage which you can add flowering trees and/or evergreens, and this plan represents that. It's a good plan. It's not my favorite plan. We have another plan that we put together that I've worked with the residents with, that we've come up with, that we think is a lot more aesthetically pleasing and also gives a large variety of different plant material, different colors, different shapes, different textures, evergreen, deciduous, flowering shrubs and trees, which I think overall will make it more attractive than just having a wooded forest. We're still complying with the intent of the ordinance when we go with our planting schedule, i.e. we're not putting in 84 shade trees, we're looking at more like 18 shade trees, and then we're supplementing that with a lot more flowering trees and a lot different varieties of evergreens, anywhere from white pines to American arborvitae to cryptomeria, which has now been requested. We're going to be adding eastern red cedars, which are native plant material, all to give different textures, shapes and sizes to the property. But also, too, the idea of the landscape plan, especially on the perimeters of this landscape plan, was also to shield and screen some of the views into the property, but also for the people on our property not to have to go look at the commercial buildings or interfere with the residential buildings, and then also the commercial areas too. So as you can see, by at least in the northern side, we've tried to increase the canopy. Even though we're taking down those the red maples that are in decline, we're replacing new red maples in. We're adding additional flowering trees within that. We're adding deciduous and evergreen shrubs as a buffer, as a 6-foot-high buffer to give it additional screening. But then we're also adding some upright arborvitae too, which will give us 10, 12, 15 feet of verticalness, some screening in there, but not a total wall, say if you were to do a line of pine trees. We're not looking to have 60, 80-foot pine trees. We're looking to have a nice screen which will let light into our site and won't wall us off. And that's the intent of this plan. And as we worked our way around it, we've worked with the other neighbors too, even off-site, to try to minimize the visual impact of this development by adding larger shade trees. Some small berming, 2 to 3 feet high at the most, just to get a little extra lift out of the tree because of the requirements for the sizes. I mean, you look at 2 to 2.5, we add another 2 feet to that, we get that plant a little bit higher. The screen's a little bit more, but then also gives some undulation within the landscape too, so we don't still have a flat landscape. We've tailored the landscape to fit in and around the stormwater management area, not to encroach on it, but to enhance it. One of the requests by the neighbors was not to fully plant it into a wooded area. They liked the idea of being able to walk up Lancaster Avenue, look across the big open field that's here, and be able to look through. That was one of the requests of one of the neighbors, to keep it somewhat open. She would like to have seen less material in here, some buffer screening for her, but she wants a lot of light to still be able to get into her property, which is right here. And we've accomplished that with this plan by adding smaller evergreens, smaller flowering trees, minimal amounts of berming, giving her the ability then to capture that light when the leaves fall off the tree, but then also giving her some additional screening as we move back towards the townhouses. The property lines along the south, those are heavily planted with evergreens. Why? Because we have a bank building here and we have the back side of the enterprise, which aren't very attractive. We look to make this more of an attractive setting for our residents who are living there, but not giving them a total screen that's going to grow 40, 50 feet tall. We have some very large pin oaks that are outside of our property line, which we're going to enhance by underplanting with some additional plant material. So we're going to try to rob from the neighbors, try to use their shade trees to help us, but also to enhance our landscape. As we work our way to the back, we're a little tight with the space between the existing enterprise building, our property line, and our development. So we're going to be using smaller evergreen types, Eastern red cedar, American arborvitae, a couple different varieties of that. Plant which only grows 6-8 feet wide, possibly 15, 18 feet tall. Again, we're not looking for that solid wall because eventually it would encroach on our buildings and we'd end up having to cut them down at a later date if we were to say put in Colorado blue spruce, white pine, and or Norway spruce. And then as we come out to the front, we're just going to rebuild the street trees. We're going to add 5 street trees, and then we're going to underplant them with flowering trees. And there is a wall that goes along as additional screening, which will also complement the additional walls that we have within the development itself. So we're kind of doing double duty with our street trees, our flowering trees, and that wall. And then our entrance will be landscaped attractively for the quality of the construction in the building that we're trying to go forward with. And then in the process, we're going to try to enhance the existing trees. The white pine hedge here, we're keeping that, but what we're going to do is we're going to underplant it with additional white pines to beef up that lower area, because technically or historically, white pines have a tendency to lose their lower branches as they get older. It's just the nature of the plant. What we'd like to do is beef up that lower canopy, so as those branches fall off, as the tree gets bigger, we have something to replace them. So basically, we're starting a white pine grove in between the new buildings and then the existing residents there to add additional screening, more in the wintertime in case they see through. Now, if you go onto their properties and you stand there, they sit lower. There's a 6-foot-high fence. So right now, their sight line is like second story-ish on the new townhouse development. These white pines will screen the majority of that. So you'll get some visual of the building, but it won't be a big facade because it'll be broken up by the plant material. Plus with the larger trees that are lower limb too, that breaks it up also.
Now, with that white pine screening that you're talking about, you're proposing more white pine?
Yes.
Okay. I think that area is very sensitive to the neighbors, and I would suggest you go with the Pinus strobus fastigiata. That is a fastigiate pine, and it does not lose its lower branches the way the traditional white pine does. And you may want to beef that up more than what you're suggesting because it's a narrower tree, but it does hold on to its bottom branches. And I know that area is very sensitive to the neighbors.
Mm-hmm. Well, they've asked for some larger. We were going to put 3 to 4 footers in. They're asking for 8 to 10s. I don't think it would be a problem with accommodating that. I personally, I'm not a fan of columnar plant material in more of a natural area because it's not a natural looking plant. I would use that plant more if I had maybe a 10 or a 12-foot wide space that I need to screen, but I need to get higher. I would then use a plant like that, like hornbeam or maybe a columnar oak or something like that. But that is something that we can definitely talk about with the neighbors. I mean, obviously for the neighbor, it's all about look.
Yeah, and they want 12-month screen.
Yes.
If the neighbors are okay with that, we can accommodate.
Okay, we can accommodate. That's no problem whatsoever.
Some of the rest of this, again, I'm personally, I don't know about anyone else here, but I'm concerned about and I know the stormwater retention is a very hot topic here as well. And in order to put that in place, there's going to be significant grading that will be affecting the trees that you're trying to preserve on that border. I think that needs to be evaluated significantly.
Mr. Holden, if I could suggest, going back to since Mr. Dobson's here, I think this is important. So the applicant shall submit a plan illustrating size, species, location of all shade trees. It's in the ordinance. All trees to be removed designated with an X and listed in report form with species, size, general point of location. And this is all marked out in the field. So what I would request is, once the landscape architect has a chance to go out, tag the rest of the trees, mark with an X what's coming down, and we get a set of plans of the demolition plan, more or less, with the proposed improvements in houses overlaying, and that way this board can take a better look at it. And I will say this applicant has worked extensively with the neighbors, and I'm glad to see they're planting a lot of different trees. I think it's great. But I would also like to see on the plant list, I mean, obviously you're planting more than what's required of the compensatory trees. So I think, just for myself and the board, to show which trees are part of your compensatory plantings that fall under the tree list that's part of this ordinance, and which ones are outside that. And again, that gives the board a better chance, to the commission, to see what's going on. I think that would be my request for the next meeting. And then the items that the chair has brought up will be easier to be looked at regarding the excavation for the subsurface seepage bed in regards to what they're trying to save for the neighbors. And as well as one of the questions that came up previously was the trees they're planting in regard to what's going to be installed there.
Just a clarification, you want me to put an X on the trees that we're removing?
Out
In the field?
In the field, you should be showing that too. That's because you're going to have tree number 81, and then you're using Arborist paint that doesn't stay on till, and you're going to make an X. And then,
Just put ribbon for
How about
now.
yeah.
Yeah, put-
And our arborist the township's arborist is going to go out, evaluate those trees, and provide a report to the Shade Tree Commission based on an independent arborist evaluation. And that'll also be ready for the next meeting.
John's going to look at the trees that are going to get saved too, you inventorying the,
We'd like him to look at the whole site.
I'd just like a clarification. I think I know what Steve is asking, but there are a variety of landscape requirements on the plan. There are, other than just the replacement trees, there are street tree requirements.
Can you step to the mic, please?
Good evening, Chuck Dobson with Inland Design. There's a variety of objective criteria that needs to be met when doing a landscaping plan. We have, in addition just to the replacement trees, we have Class A buffers along the property lines, we have Class B buffers, we have street trees, and we also have building trees, if you will. I guess what I want to do is make sure that in the plan that we're going to plant, we have a compliance chart that pretty much identifies what trees on site are designed to apply to whatever objective criteria is in the ordinance. I guess what I want to do is make sure that, are you looking for maybe a different identification for those specific trees that are going to be actually applied to the replacement plantings?
Right, Mr. Dobson brings up a good point. Based on the subdivision land development ordinance, he has buffers that have to be installed. And
Correct.
a lot of that's what's shown here. Based on the shade tree ordinance, aside from those buffers, you have compensatory tree plantings
Right.
that have to take place. But right now, knowing that you have those buffers to put in, it's very hard to judge this looking at a landscaping plan and then having a separate plan for demolition. Because not only will they be looking at what you're removing and what you're required to install and what the neighbors wish to have, they also will be looking at your buffer, which this plan shows. So my thought was, the way you have it broke down is fine, but perhaps that chart would be broken down into, here's my buffer planting A, buffer planting B, here's the shade tree ordinance trees, and you have a slew of trees. This meets the ordinance. We're removing 28 and we're replanting 88 per the ordinance.
Right.
And the rest is all bonus. It's all good stuff. It's for the neighbors, it's for whatever. but I think that would help the commission. I know it will help me. And for them to be able to evaluate, once our independent arborist goes out and confirms the condition of those trees, they'll have that report in hand. And if some trees are deemed healthy and of a certain size, maybe they're a heritage tree, maybe they're not, maybe they're just a large tree, the Shade Tree Commission can then look, and then that's when they can question Mr. Dobbs, yourself, the RLA, and Mr. Erickson, and say, hey, maybe can this be moved? Can this be done? So I guess I'm looking for a shade tree / buffer planting table.
Which is fine, and I have full confidence that we've really done our best to meet not only the objective criteria in the ordinance, but also put our best foot forward as to what we think is most appropriate for the site as it is. I guess what I would do is ask, do you have an example that we could use that's been used by these folks before, so I'm not showing them something new and we can kind of minimize the lost in translation?
I could meet with you offline, and
Okay.
I think we could come up with a spreadsheet that's clear and
Perfect.
as succinct as it can be when there's like 300 plants.
Terrific. That's well put. That's great, because I just don't want to have to reinvent the wheel, and if you folks have seen something you're comfortable with and you understand, I think it makes the most sense to
Right.
use that.
If we could also know when you'll have the rest of the trees tagged, because I'm going to request our arborist go out there, and I want him to be able to get that report to the Shade Tree Commission with time for their review.
Okay.
Prior to the next meeting.
Understood. Understood. Okay, thank you very much. I appreciate that.
We'll get out there next week to do the final tag.
You could just email me when it's done, and I'll let Mr. Hosback know.
Okay.
Okay, so are we comfortable with what has been proposed? We appreciate the work you've put into this. This is a difficult property. And it has a lot of neighbor emotion involved with it. It is apparent that you are sensitive to that. That's a good thing. And we look forward to, working with you through the details.
Howard, just so we know what we're looking for next time when we come back to this, as it stands right now, our canopy tree count would be at 46. Is that correct? Per the ordinance, our canopy tree count would be at 46 if we were to go by the ordinance?
Replacement trees?
Yeah, for canopies, right? And we're showing 17 on this plan.
The desire.
Yes.
Right.
And in that, we are assuming that all the trees that we are removing are pristine and in good shape. We're not taking any credit for the fact that we think most of these trees are in bad shape or in decline, or some are flat out dead. We're not taking credit for that. So we're hoping that with your discretion, we can move towards a landscape plan that I think fits into the neighborhood and is approved by the neighbors, and I think can look good right after it's planted, but also in the years to come.
Okay?
Let me, I'm one of the neighbors. Can I speak to that?
Sure.
Since we've all been through this together, kind of know each other.
Can you identify who you
Yeah,
are?
my name is John Shane. Let me explain one piece, because we have been working with Mr. Erickson and his team on this plan, which Mr. Ward, I think, just said we didn't know with your ordinance, the new ordinance, because this is a new, the question that you asked was relative to a new ordinance that actually isn't on the website yet. So you know.
It is on the website under engineering.
But it's, the old one is still there too. Just so you know, just as a point of fact.
2012-5. I told Mr. Brosman that, so he knew.
No, but the issue here is that we didn't know as neighbors when we were working with the developer for the stipulation of, I think you said 20 more canopy trees, potentially. No, that's what the math
Yeah,
is.
right,
No,
for
no,
the
I'm
count,
not-
sure.
So what this particular plan that they did present tonight represented strict adherence with the new ordinance, which would be, I think your math was 48 canopy trees, or whatever the math is, something like that. And I think the point that we would like to make is, as you look at this plan, we're not trying to make Sherwood Forest out of this building site. And so I think there does need to be some forbearance here relative to how the whole thing works out. And that's our point with this, because we didn't see this until tonight either.
Yeah, well, that's our point also. I mean, it's very difficult for us to sit here and approve anything or even suggest conditions when we're presented with something the night of.
Oh, of course, no,
Yeah.
we understand. But anyway, as neighbors, to your point, just to reinforce, we are in support of what has been planned so far and
Okay.
the process.
Okay. Thank you very much. Okay. Well, thank you very much on both sides of the fence, as they say, and we'll see you next month.
Mr. Chairman, just, it wasn't on the agenda, but just for informational purposes, 447 Barclay is a continuation from last month.
It's eventual.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time. There you go. Yes, that is the old ordinance.
Okay, sorry for the delay. Sometimes I feel like David Letterman up here, and you've got to throw your plans back.
Ben Sparango, 447 Barclay Road.
Okay?
I have Steve Schreiner that was out at the property that would be better able to discuss the silver maple / on the driveway that we were talking about last time.
Okay.
Right, Steve?
Sure. Good evening, Steve Schreiner. What do you want to talk about? What's the question? Yeah, I mean, is it overall health? Is it problematic to the site? Are you trying to preserve it? What are your concerns?
The 40-inch,
Yeah, and I agree with the request to remove it.
What's the condition of the tree?
Fair. And extensive surface root structure under the driveway, which is already buckling. So, I mean, yeah. I think it's a wise decision to remove the tree.
That's because he gets more money for removing the tree.
Okay, and you're building this curb line, if I'm reading this correct. Are there any neighbor trees to the west side of this?
Do we have pictures? You mean right on the property line?
No.
Within 10 feet is the ordinance?
No,
There's
there
nothing.
aren't any.
Absolutely nothing over there.
Correct, yeah.
Okay, the other concern I have is your topsoil stockpile.
You did say to move that back here, and he didn't do it on the plan, but I'll have him move that. That's not a problem. We did discuss that at the last meeting.
Yeah, there seems to be an area, you suggested a tree protection fence. I can show you what I've sketched, I'm sorry. Instead of your stockpile being here, if you wrap it out and take your stockpile back here.
Fine.
And it takes it away from some other significant trees. I can share this with the township as well.
We want to talk about that. Want to just mention that?
Well, he wants to check it and bring it down this way,
Yeah.
so it's not even disturbing that.
Yeah, and that's got to go.
Back like that.
So that'll be good, so we don't impact the root system of the tree. Yeah. Mr. Holden?
Yes.
It's marked now where the topsoil is this 22-inch caliber silver maple coming out.
Correct.
When I visited the site, I noticed the sycamore tree has it has a decay area about 3 feet off the ground, not much of a canopy. Basically, it's caught between two maples. So I suggested to Ben, I said, why don't we preserve the healthier, better tree? And then he indicated, hey, we also have to move the topsoil. And in eliminating the sycamore, which is in poor shape, we can then access into that back area for the topsoil. So I think it's a wise decision to save the better tree, take the weaker tree out, and be good.
Okay. Well, I would request that somebody not to say I don't trust your job. I've seen, huge sycamores with huge gaps in them.
Yeah, here's the picture. I don't know. It's not. It's a very small tree, as far as size wise. I don't know if you guys can see that. You want to zoom in?
Yep.
On that?
Okay.
You can see the size of the decay there.
It's not a very big tree.
It has really no crown to it. It looks like a Q-tip actually. So,
Okay. It looks like it. yeah.
That's correct. Yeah, years ago, just decay moved in there. So.
Okay, just as long as, the township's comfortable with that. For example, you've worked at the historic house, you see those sycamores, you
Sure.
can walk into them. So, people tell me that sycamores, have gapes in them, and I'm thinking, okay, what else is new? So I just want to make sure that, that your reasoning is sound.
Yeah,
Okay.
great.
What did you end up deciding on with the electric service? You keeping it above ground?
No, the electric service is going underground.
All right, where are we going with it?
From that back corner, it is going underground to the house.
Are you taking that same shot that you're at right now?
Yeah.
All right, well, you're going through a couple trees.
There's, well, I would say from a diagonal, more from that corner point, because I think there's a telephone pole right there. And I think they would trench, Pico will trench to the pole, correct? So I would imagine they're going to try to do a straight shot to the corner of the back left of the property.
You mean,
Up a little, where you're pointing, there you go.
I see the pole like on the west corner.
This pole right here. That's, there's also That's where the electric lines are.
Well, they got a pole marked on the neighbor's yard, on the west corner. Go down west.
Yeah. Utility pole.
Go down to your left. Keep going. UP, utility, yeah, they got one marked there.
Yeah. Yeah, right there. Power is coming from here right now. So
Right.
I'd imagine they're just gonna bring a conduit down. There's another pole there. It's not marked on the plan.
Okay, so it's going to travel in the same location that it is presently.
Right.
So you're going to trench through the 2 pines, the 20-inch pine, and the 12-inch silver maple,
Where you're, yeah,
22-inch maple.
right?
It might be better coming off of this other pole.
This
'cause
one here?
You got a straight shot here, and if you're going to get rid of the sycamore, then you're clean.
Sure. That's not a problem.
You can stay away from all those other trees.
Either way, I mean, it probably looks like that's a shorter distance anyhow, for me, for running the electric. Doesn't matter. Yeah, it doesn't matter to me. Yeah?
Winner, winner, chicken dinner. You wanna
I
mention
can have
the
make, anything else?
The,
Just, your sanitary and your water, as proposed, are existing?
They are existing, correct.
You're going to put in new lines though, right?
To the vent, yes, from the vent.
Okay, well, you move your electric service and move your topsoil pile if you can. We'll determine whether that sycamore is worth saving or not. And if it's not, then maybe your topsoil can stay where it is.
And then just add your tree protection around the maple that you're going to save,
Okay.
the 22-inch maple.
Yeah, where the topsoil is right now. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Very good.
Okay. Okay, 100, 110, Hillside Circle.
Gentlemen, Joe Orsatti, landscape architect. Good to see you again. I'm here with T.R. Moser, the applicant. We're here on 3 small lots for single-family homes. 2 of the plans you've received in a timely fashion. The 3rd plan, I don't think you've received it until tonight. Mary Ann was kind enough to let us submit it a little late. I didn't get my work done. But basically, all 3 plans are somewhat similar. The first 2 are located off of Hillside Circle in Villanova. This is just an orientation plan for you. It's 2 parcels. The parcel closest to Lancaster Pike I'll go over first, and the second parcel is right behind it or contiguous to it. Both parcels will be serviced off of Hillside Road, Hillside Circle. As you know, that was a beautiful community at one time before the Blue Route, and it's kind of gone through a transition. These 2 particular sites have something again in common in that There's a lot of vegetation, overgrown weeds and broken branches, and I don't think they've been touched in the 50 years that the Blue Route was built. If I can go through each one at a time. We had a tree survey done. I went out and looked at every single tree on the site, and the site we're looking at first is this one parcel that ends with 201. I'm sorry?
That's 100.
That's 100 Hillside Circle. The trees in red are all the trees that are coming out due to the home construction, the driveway, the grading, and the stormwater. Within that site, there are two heritage trees. There is a 36-inch red maple, which is I've defined as being beyond help. It's been totally enveloped in vines. There's also a 33-inch maple, same thing. Those two trees will be coming out by themselves because they're not safe to begin with. But overall, we're taking out about 8 trees, and we're going to replace them in accordance with the ordinance. Most of the trees we're taking out really are along the driveway area. And I do have a question for Steve Norsini, if he's here. There is a sewer easement, existing sewer easement that runs from Hillside up through from the beginning of Hillside up through the end of Hillside, and there are existing trees in there already, some of which we're going to remove in order to construct the driveway and the stormwater management system. My only question is, would he want to have the remaining trees both on this lot, the first lot I'm describing, and the second lot I'm going to be describing, would he want to have those trees removed? Okay. That's something we can discuss. The good thing about this particular site is that there's a heavy buffer of evergreen pines, white pines along Lancaster Avenue in this location, and they actually carry up onto Hillside that are outside the property line and will remain in place, and they will afford a natural buffer. We have approximately 12 replacement trees that we're proposing, which are shown in the I guess hard to see, but the blue color. There is a 36-inch ash at the rear of the property that we're going to save. It's a heritage tree. But basically, it's an overgrown, I don't think there's been any care given to the site at all in the past 50 years. If you have any questions on that lot, I'd be more than happy to answer them. Yes, I think they're both lot 3.
Yeah, lot 3 is here.
Both say lot, they both say
They do.
lot 3.
I don't know why that is.
So we're just on this parcel here. This is
We're on
the
this
first one,
parcel right here.
I'm sorry, Mr. Orsatti, I apologize. The 36-inch black walnut that's shown in the proposed dwelling,
That's the next.
That's the next,
That's the next one.
next parcel, right?
We're on the first.
I'm on the one Lancaster Avenue?
Yes, sir.
No, we're talking about this house over here.
Okay.
This house.
And this is the third parcel here? Okay. Sorry about that.
No, and Steve, I'd asked a question while you were busy. There is a sewer easement that runs up along this side of both of these parcels. It's a 20-foot wide sewer easement. We're taking down some trees within that easement in order to construct the driveway and some grading changes. My question is, would you want all the trees in that easement removed, existing trees to be removed?
Well,
There would be three more trees that would be taken out.
the applicant, that's actually going to be a private easement between the lots. So the applicant is basically granting himself an easement from Lot 3, Parcel 2, through Lot 3, Parcel 1. I'm going by the last number of the...
Okay.
So he's granting himself an easement so that the future homeowner of the lower portion of the T there can have, the sewer line can run through. I don't want to take trees down willy-nilly just for the sake of the fact that we have an easement, or that these future homeowners are going to have an easement. We do like the 20-foot clear. What would the 3 remaining trees be?
One's an 8-inch maple, 8-inch maple, and one is a 21-inch white pine, which the top, I think, is very thin. It's a very thin tree.
My only thing is if the sanitary sewer is going to be dead center of the proposed easement, which I assume it would be, then I think those trees are going to go when he puts his sewer in.
We're basically leaving them in for the sake of this presentation, but we're willing. I just want to bring it up because I thought Steve would bring it up. I have a picture of the pine, Steve, that's... That's the pine that would come out that we don't have taken out right now.
So Joe, on this lot, all the canopy trees are dead? All the big canopy trees?
Yes, sir.
How old was that?
What I'm saying are you're talking about heritage trees.
Yeah.
There's one 38-inch ash on this site that looks like it's okay, that we could, take the vines out of and do it. The rest of the trees, the 36-inch red maple and the 36-inch maple and there's another one there. I can't remember where it is. It's right here. Has to come out, but that is in bad shape. And I'd be more than happy to walk out there with John if he wants to look at it. The problem with these trees on all 3 of these parcels is that the vines are not just running up and down the stem. They've totally enveloped the vegetation to the point where you really can't even identify the tree. It's sad, but I have a picture of.
I'm just having a hard time with this plan, trying to identify between your trees that are coming out, the trees you're saving, your grade lines, and what we're doing here.
Okay, if you can look at this, the exhibit, everything with an X in it is coming out, regardless of the color.
So all the reds are coming out?
Correct.
Yeah, but
And the blue trees are replacement trees.
problem we have is it's black and white, so
I got you.
Are the replacement trees, are they indicated by any symbols on this?
They have a C. If you look on your plan, it has a C for compensation.
Well, that helps, thanks.
Yeah.
Joe, just so I can verify our existing conditions plan within this plan, the trees that come out have X's on them. The existing trees that are saving have pluses on them. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. Everything else is new planting.
Is new replacements. We're looking at 12 replacement trees for this particular parcel. I will say that both these parcels have a very, they're very small to begin with. They're 15,000 square feet. This particular parcel is 15,000 square feet. The next one I'm going to present, the one that adjoins this one, is 10,000 square feet. So it's pretty tough to put your home in, the driveway, the grading, and whatever without disturbing things.
Joe, where's the driveway? This is like a cryptogram here.
Driveway comes off of Hillside right here.
Where is it?
This is
I
Hillside.
got it.
Yeah.
Here, right?
Yeah.
The stormwater system is right in this vicinity, in the driveway, under the driveway. I think it's partially under the driveway. Is that true?
Here's a plan. This plan here just gives a better idea. I have the driveway coming in here off of Hillside. The stormwater management system is right here. And then I have the garage here, front entry garage, with the house right in here. With a turnaround right here for, right where my finger is. So. And then the other property we're talking about is right here.
No, I agree with Jim. This is, for us, this is very difficult to interpret.
Joe, it's just overlaid so much, I can't. So, I mean, point out the sanitary sewer. Is that going west on this, out the back?
Senator Sewer, there's an easement, as I spoke to Steve about, that comes up and turns and in this area. So sanitary sewer will be in the vicinity of the new driveway. The electric runs between the two lots aerially at present, and I assume the water and coming up the main street will be serviced through the front of the house in the disturbance area.
All right, do you see where you have the water entering the house there? Do you have the W line?
Yes.
All right, what is that other pipe to the west that comes out of the house and goes to a circle, then goes all the way to the?
That's the sewer that's coming up the street. There's sewer that goes up the street to service the entire development, and then there's a sewer easement that shoots up through these two lots here to access this road. And I believe that.
Yeah, I'm saying, do you see where the water line goes into the house? No, it actually hits the house. Follow your water line all the way into the house. Right. Okay. Now, move your finger over to the left a little bit. What is that line? It's a line with a circle, and then it dots all the way across the property there. Here's the water line here. And then what is this line, Joe? There's a circle dot coming into the house. It looks like it's going in the house.
Well, the water's coming in through the side of the house. Is that?
Yeah,
Mr.
that's
Chairman?
the water, but there's a sanitary sewer.
The sewer line coming out, here's the water line.
Mr. Chairman, could I request maybe that we get, I think Mr. Rosati's done a very good job of marking all this out, but maybe we get a set of plans with a little different line weight. Maybe the existing trees are grayed a little bit, or vice versa, because I know what you're looking for, and just the sheer fact that there are so many trees, it's tough in that same color and line weight. Maybe if we get another plan where the symbols for the trees are of like a finer line weight and more of a gray than a black, but keep the rest of your plan in the black, then they could see it better.
You should have those plans, though. I guess the plans that first submitted were the plot plans that don't have the trees. And that's this, what you're looking at is the sewer coming, there's a sewer line that's also in the back of the development, on the back of the lot here. What you're looking at is sewer.
Okay, yep, but there's a sanitary easement.
I thought the easement's coming off.
That easement is to access the sewer for the next house we're talking about. Okay?
That sewer is going to stay the same, or that's a new line?
That's a new line coming in.
And
here to
you're
the center.
proposing you're going to save a 12-inch white pine within the root system of that new line?
Excuse me.
probably not going to be able to get saved. Yeah.
All right, Joe, go, head out to the north side of the house, and we got a grade line there. I don't know, it doesn't show a number, but it has, do you see that grade line? Is that a grade change line on the north side?
230.44?
It's black dotted line, Joe, is that a grade line change?
No, that's the property line, I believe.
No, it doesn't look like property. There's a dotted line.
230.44?
Yeah, that is,
No, that's
This
existing
thing
grade,
here.
the grade there.
is that existing grade, new grade? It's probably existing, huh?
The existing's got the little dots, right, Joe? And then you cut that grade around the house.
This looks like a watershed line. You know, just one where he doesn't.
All he needs is the X. He doesn't need all the circles. No, he's not really following because he's showing this as a 36-inch grade.
Disturbance.
No,
And
he's
this is a
talking
12
about that. I
inch.
don't know why, I don't know what it's for.
This line here. He's talking
No, he's talking about that, what that
He just took
230
the circles off, that'd be
And I
fine.
don't have the 230 here.
Why does that matter?
I don't know. He's just asking what it is.
The dotted line, we don't know.
Joe, we're pushing those grades right into a 26-inch ash, that's what I'm asking. If that's a, you're gonna grade that line back, you're gonna be on top of that tray, you know what I mean? There's a 26-inch ash you're saving here. And then you have the grade line right underneath the drip line of that tray. And underneath the drip line of that 38-inch ash to the west.
I have the tree, is that the right tree right here? Is that the tree that you're, that's,
Yeah, that's what you're saving. And then to the west, there's a 38-inch ash you're saving, though. It's the dark green collapse.
Yes.
yes.
You got a grade line change underneath the canopies of both of those trees. The dark black line.
We don't think that's a grade line.
What is it?
We don't have a clue.
I don't know where he got the 230 from, because here's the grading.
But you're not,
This is all existing, are the light dotted lines.
right.
And these are the trees that we're talking about. The grade is really, you know, it's
Then the dotted lines must be your new
is
grade.
existing. No, dotted is existing, the new grade is the existing contour, proposed is the straight line. And there's not much change to the grading on the back of this lot here.
Oh, maybe, that's your tree protection then.
Probably.
The tree protection's, yeah, right here. That could be what Joe, when he
Yeah.
transposed,
Is
he
that
took
what-
these plans and transposed them. I don't know, and that could be where the tree protection's coming up. That
That might be.
line here is tree protection.
The black line.
That black line, this, yeah, is the tree protection.
Okay.
Again,
It's just a little confusing.
I don't disagree, but there's a decent amount of trees, and to try to show them all, yeah.
Yeah, Mr. Orsini, if there's a way that we can interpret this a little more clearly, I mean, the color probably helps you all. We don't have color. We have just black and white, and it is a maze to try to walk through all this. And we don't have, on the black and white, we don't have,
Let me ask you this. I can give you full-blown copies of this color. Each one of, I could make this available to you at the full size.
Well, I think what part of the, if I may interject, it's so busy right now, everybody's having trouble. I mean, I know what the finished and proposed contours are, I'm used to looking at that. It's harder for other folks, and I'll be honest with you, it's even tough for me on some of them to try to follow them because there are so many trees. Maybe if we get a plan where you're not showing, you're just showing the X, and maybe it's at a lighter weight and not so heavy, you know, that's a pretty heavy line weight on the, you're talking to a guy who didn't use CAD, so I'm going to talk line weight back in the old days. So maybe the line weight of that, you know, keep your contours and your proposed buildings and everything the same, but remove the circles around the X's unless the tree is going to stay. If you're proposing it to come out, they don't need to see the drip line, so to speak. And you could lighten them up, and I think everybody could get a chance to see what's really going on. It's very hard to, because even the plan that's done in color doesn't do much as far as discerning what's going on.
Well, I guess the red's the ones that are coming out, the blue are the replacements, and the ones that aren't shaded is what's staying. So, a lot of trees have to come down unfortunately, to build this house. When we can't, the issue last time where we didn't have such a busy plan was we didn't have the names of the trees. So, I understand, you know, my goal is not to take out a lot of trees, but I have to build the house. I have to have my framers get around the house to build it. I have to, you know, stockpile the dirt in the back of the lot. I have the recharge system here, the driveway coming in here. I have overhead power lines here. It's a tight lot. You know, we're not building we're trying not to build real expensive homes, more, you know, more price point driven here. You know, and the goal is, you know, this whole here, the more trees I can save, the better, because it's going to just help in noise pollution. Yeah. It's going to help me better sell the home, because, you know, it is up against Lancaster Avenue. Again, I have to build the home, and it is difficult because there's a lot of trees, and just with clearing and marking everything, it's going to take a lot of time and effort. And the same going on the next lot up above. There's not as many trees. There is one heritage tree that's in the middle of where the house plans to go. Would really just like to have your feedback or objections and, you know, I guess insight on this. I know it is confusing, but there are a lot of trees.
Can I just do one thing? Can I just bring this board up to you guys?
Is that not easier to read? That's why we did it in color. I know it's not projecting in color the right way, but it's very clear. Everything key.
That's right. Here's my main concern, Joe. You got this 12-inch pine by the sanitary, and then you have an 8-inch tulip poplar right next to your stormwater management tank and your line, okay? So that's got to get moved, and this has to get removed. And you're only leaving about 6 feet between the corner of the house and your fence here. So there's going to be some grading going on in this corner. They have to grade it, okay? How are they going to grade it without getting involved with this tree we're trying to save and this tree we're trying to save? There's no contours shown, but we know that something has to happen. You can't build a house without contours, and they're not showing anything there. So if they're going to grade, what are they going to do and how are they going to do it?
I just wanted to show you. They are. Got a lot of change in grade on this side of the house.
This is an in-ground basement, okay? You got steep slope here, but you can see there's not a lot of, you know,
There's no contours at all.
Right, but you know, you got to backfill around the house.
Yes.
So you got to grade there too.
Correct.
So you got to have a
I
machine
have
there.
3 foot overdig, yeah.
Yeah, so,
And that's why.
so I got 6 feet between the corner of your house and this fence here. How are you going to move a machine around here without getting involved with that? That's what I'm saying. They're going to be over there. So give them some room, or do what you got to do.
But can I ask you?
No, but you're talking about getting equipment around.
I just
Have
wanted
it
to-
overdig. I guess, well,
Right, sure.
Yeah. I just wanted to show you how we do it with
Yeah, come on, that fan club. What about?
Now, we're sorry, but, this is a difficult plan for us to, because we don't look at just the number of trees that you're proposing or you're going to save and the ones that are coming down, the ones you're replanting. We're looking for ways to help you understand if things could be changed a little bit. And it's very difficult for us to see this. I mean, I just heard, Jim saying maybe you could slide it this way, that way. And it's difficult for us to read those kinds of issues with this plan. And I would suggest that you take Mr. Norsini's recommendation and try to get rid of all the dark black circles that go around the trees that are being removed, maybe even taking the replanting trees off the plan. Just let us look at the ones that are, that are coming out, and let us see the grade lines and, your utilities. That's what we want to see. And this is impossible to read in that sense.
I mean, you did a lot of work from last week, and we really appreciate what you did. And I know this is a small lot, budgets are tight, but the smaller the stuff gets, the harder it is for us.
It's more planning. I understand. It's more planning. They're harder to work on.
It's more work for you, and I know this is a budget-sensitive job here because it's smaller, but we can't, because it's so tight, I can't see it through this. If I just had 2 more overlays, get rid of the stuff and just let me see the grade lines and your building envelope, and just the bare minimum, and we could have this done. We could have it done for you, but I just can't see it like it is.
No, I understand. By point, trying to think,
I think it would help engineering as well,
no, I understand. It just by pulling that house up.
We're not talking about making any specific changes. We just can't see whether this is the best option. I mean, you understand it, but we can't see it.
So, I hear what you're saying.
It's just so tight that I just need one more overlay off of this thing, just to make a couple recommendations for you that could help preserve what you want to preserve, instead of having to cut down even more trees here. Because we don't want to have to cut down more. We're taking off an awful lot here. So if it were a matter of just the possibility of moving that stormwater management, or are we going to take down that 8-inch poplar to make way for that, or can we move that a little bit? I just can't see if you can move it.
Yes.
Your sanitary line, are we going to take that 12-inch pine down, or move that line, wiggle that line past, I don't know, and just how to configure the corner of the house so you can adequately work and still preserve that, what you...
Well, I don't, but I guess on lots like this, a lot of stuff gets, unfortunately gets determined out on the site when you actually see what, I start digging, I hit rock, root systems, stuff's gonna be changing here and there. It's not my intent, my intent is to keep the integrity of this property. And I understand what you're looking for, where you want to make sure, you understand fully. I just, just like everyone else, I want to get my building permit submitted and move on to the next step. And not wait.
That's what it's all about.
And you understand.
We just don't want to come back onto the site and see this whole thing is altered because of something that we knew was probably going to happen to begin with when we sat here. Do you know what I mean? Like we knew this was going to happen, and so it happened. But if we could have talked it through, maybe it didn't have to happen. That's all. If that makes sense, Howard.
Is there any? There's no way to get approval and then meet with the arborist and kind of get an idea, so that the rest of the plans are getting reviewed. And I guess I don't mind working with you and getting the thing. My real goal is to get the building permit starting to be reviewed by the building department, so that I'm not another month from, I'm starting, if you guys approve me, then they can review the plans next month, and I can still dig before I get into December and next year. I'm starting to get to the winter time, and that's really my biggest concern, is I don't mind bringing another plan, but, and you probably, I don't know if you even care about this schedule or anything, but I'm just worried about getting in the winter and trying to get these houses out of the ground. And that's my biggest concern moving forward if I don't get approval. And I was just trying to get as much information as possible. It's probably too much, and I apologize for that. So.
But let me just say one thing. This is basically second growth material in here, with the exception of that one big ash back there. It's basically overrun second growth. By moving that house forward, the new driveway is already 8 feet below the foundation of the house, the finished floor. To move that house closer is going to increase that grade probably to 6.5%. By the time you do your vertical curve at the top and the bottom, I really think that's wishful thinking. But I think we should do something maybe with that water line in the back to move that around to save that big ash. And I think we can do that. But beyond that, I don't think there's anything else on this site. I hate to say, I love trees more than you guys do. That's really that valuable. I mean, you really get to the point where you have a by right use for this zoning, and we try to do the very best we can to save trees. You know that, because trees sell houses. But by the same token, if there was a way of moving this house somewhere else to give that ash even more room, we'd do it. But I think we have a possibility of realigning that sewer back there to save that ash. So, but I'm just saying in general terms, that's to come back with another drawing that gives you everything you want to know. It's still going to come down to the fact that this is secondary growth. We're trying to save the major tree that we can, and we're going to put back as many replacements as we can, as per the ordinance. And if you want to throw a few more replacements into the formula, just so we've done that on other projects, where we add 5 or 6% more trees just to cover, things that happen in the field. And that happens in the field. I don't care about all the protection fencing in the world. It happens. So we're willing to come back with a clearer plan, but I'm just trying to read the facts to you. I think it simply comes down to one nice big tree. And we'll even throw in replacements for it if it were to not survive. But to hold this gentleman up for another month, it just seems unreasonable. And, can I go on to the next site, the next lot, just so we'll just get this thing through with...
Yeah, Mr. Norsini, we've just had the discussion about coming back with a clearer plan. They don't want to hold this up for another month.
What we can do is, we can get the grading permit to move. If this commission wishes them to come back, we'll get the grading permit going concurrently. And unless there's any substantive changes, whatever this commission decides, we'll make sure is reflected on the grading permit. And if there's nothing substantive, like, the house is sliding or the seepage bed is going in a completely different location, I don't see that. So they could come back to you. We'll notify the reviewer to start. And then when Sue has done the minutes of the next meeting, they will go to the reviewer, and that person will have to make sure all your comments are incorporated on the plans, if you wish to proceed that way. That way, the Shade Tree Commission gets a better look, but we also do a little work.
Yeah, and I don't mind coming back next month as long as I can keep,
Yes.
if I can get my building permits and that stuff, keep on moving forward.
You won't be able to get your building permit until you can't apply for the building permit until grading. But if all goes well, it should just be a short time after the next Shade Tree Commission that this goes through, that you get your grading permit and we go.
Okay. No, I think that's a reasonable plan.
Can we do it through email in between meetings or no?
Yeah.
But they're not authorized until...
No, I'm asking if we're allowed to.
Steve?
Can we do it through email, like get the copy of the plans prior? And approve it in between meetings or no?
No, you have to go to the meeting. You have to do it at the public, it's a public meeting, we advertise it as such. But I just had to, we're going to email the reviewer tonight and say, move forward on the Mosier properties, knowing that they just have to wait until next month to get any comments. If there's really minimal from the Shade Tree Commission, I would expect to just issue it very shortly thereafter. So we're not trying to, I understand where Mr. Moser's coming from. He wants to get started, and he has a long road to go. He still has to get his grading permit approved. Then it goes to get his building permit, and he's anxious to get started. I know he wants to get under roof for the winter. So we'll try to expedite it as quickly as we can. And if that's suitable for everybody, maybe that's a win-win.
No, that's great. As long as I can keep moving, I'll come back, I got.
Yeah, no, I think that's a good approach. And so far as your next plan, most likely that may have the same implication, but we'll take a quick look at it now.
This piece here, or the whole other next plan?
Yeah, the next parcel, basically, it comes down to one large walnut tree that happens to occur right in the middle of the house. There's nothing they can do about it, and we're proposing to provide nine replacement trees. In addition to some of the white pine we're moving out front. The site isn't as fully wooded as the one in the rear. This is pretty simple. And we asked Steve if he would have any objection if this private sewer easement, if we want to keep those trees, we can save them, we will. If we can't, the 24-inch white pine and the 21-inch pine and the 8-inch maple, if we can save them, we will.
Maybe if the sewer isn't dead at 10 foot, maybe if you're at 8 foot and 12 foot, I mean, that's fine.
Okay. So the site is pretty void of trees except for the big walnut, and as I said, it's right in the middle of the building.
Joe, what are we going to do with that big maple in the back?
The
It's going to have to come down. So I'm going to have to replace it.
Which one?
This maple here. Because if the homeowner, it's going to be right against the house.
Yeah, this 28-inch maple, that should come out.
Unfortunately, it's going to have to come down.
How about our 21-inch pine on the east side?
That's
Correct.
up to
that's the easement?
That's the easement issue.
We're trying to save everything we possibly can, but realistically, that's probably going to be in the disturbance area, the white pine, the 28-inch maple.
Is that a Norway maple?
A Norway maple.
No. No. And then, very briefly, this is the other application that a plan we submitted that we,
Finish this out, or I don't want to jump around.
You don't take I-95 north, do you? Yes, sir. We would need to know for your replacement trees, if these on the easement would be included, Howard, and then add this 28-inch maple to the replacement.
You have to add the 28.
Yeah, no, I think that 28-inch maple that you're suggesting, regardless of what species it is, you need to replace, take it down, replace it.
okay.
The 21-inch white pine and the 8-inch maple, if they're to stay, okay. If they're not, then I would put them, as you were suggesting, just put them in as replacements and get it over with.
Okay, sir.
Thank you. This is Burnside.
Okay.
The plans you have, I believe, are just grading plans. Burnside, yes.
No, that's yours. I got one here.
This is, again, another site that's been left unattended to for a number of years. We estimate there's about 25 trees or so on the site. And unfortunately, the heritage trees, a 42-inch maple, a 42-inch ash, and a 33-inch ash are totally enveloped in vines, and both on the stem and all the vegetation. That's also true for the remaining trees on the site, but we think we can save as many as we can. The one good thing about this site is it does have a very intense row of arborvitaes along the western side that appear to be either on this property or the adjacent property or right down the property line that will be untouched. Basically what we came up with, that there'll be about 16 tree replacements provided on this site. There is good planting on the adjacent property to the east that will not affect in any way. The stormwater management system is down in the far left-hand corner where it's basically void of trees. The driveway comes through at the top. There is one existing tree up there that's in bad shape as well. Again, I'd be more than happy to walk at the site with you guys or with John to confirm this. But we're basically taking out very few trees other than the ones that are needed for the driveway and regrading. And they're basically these trees right in this area here. 14-inch maple, a 16-inch ash, 24-inch ash, and another 22-inch ash. So again, a lot of secondary growth in this area, a lot of heavy vines, a lot of dead wood in the trees. But I think this site is a little easier than the rest.
Would you like me to explain the grading of the lot and just how it's contoured?
Yeah, my concern is you're suggesting you're holding on to a 15-inch tulip poplar up in the northwest corner and a 24-inch tulip poplar up in that same neck of the woods. And it appears as though you've got a grading line. If I, again, reading your...
That's existing.
That solid one is existing?
Up top, up here.
Are you talking about this area up here or down here?
Yeah, I'm talking to the south of those two tulip poplars. I see something that looks as though, was it 169.13?
That's not a contour line. That's a dimension line of some kind.
Again,
There's no existing tree near that line. The other two trees are replacement trees. We are taking out this 8-inch maple that's right next to the driveway, and also this.
Yeah, I see all that, but
Okay.
again, it's just like the previous plan that. Do you see the 169.13?
Yeah.
And then you've got this solid line that kind of wiggles around.
The wiggle sign is the tree protection.
Okay.
You're looking at the meets and this is what. Oh, I think that's how many feet that is. Yeah, it's from the front to back, it's 169 feet from the back. That's what that is. And then you have 56.99 feet on the left-hand side. And then you can see the X is the tree protection.
Excuse me, Howard. We don't have that, what you're looking at there, that updated version.
Okay.
Ours has no species on it, no identification of any trees. Here's ours. This is what we all have. I don't know where you got that, but. Anybody know what, staff, we have two different plans here. Howard's got one that shows the tree species identified, and we have one that shows just nothing about species or anything.
I might be looking at entirely different
I think there was.
wrong
This is
plan.
one we have. Here. Yeah, but we didn't get it.
Yeah.
There's extras left.
I don't know, I mean, this is what, we handed out what we had delivered, so
Okay. I would recommend.
apologize for any inconvenience on that, but
Yeah,
that's,
it's okay,
that's what
it's
was,
okay.
came in the packet.
I'd recommend that we do the same with this as we did with the last one.
I'm sorry, the plans you want to see are in the packet Mr. Orsatti brought tonight. So they were not part, these are the ones that just came. So if you wish to see them, here they are.
That's the other.
Yeah, no, but that's, no, it's the same, there it is.
Thanks.
I thought I did hand them out. I think they need them.
Yeah, that's what you have. Somehow you got it. I don't.
I handed a bunch
You
of
were
them.
lucky.
Look around in your pocket.
So you can see,
I've checked 3 times.
you don't have the tree protection on.
All right, we're with you.
Okay.
Okay, now I'm looking at the black and white of this one.
Yes.
And you have a proposed tree that you're going to plant right to the north of your large walnut, or, yeah, ash, 42-inch ash, right? The dead one. You go straight to the north of that, and there's a circle with a C and a triangle in it. There's a little line that wiggles out to the right of that circle, and then ends up going down to where it says 169.13.
That's a new contour line.
That's a new contour, that's what I thought. And then you've got a 15-inch tulip poplar within an inch of that, and you have a 24-inch tulip poplar within an inch of that contour line.
You're talking about these 2 trees right here.
Correct.
They're well out of the disturbance area. I mean,
I don't agree with that.
the canopy, the edge of the driveway, albeit, is probably within the canopy.
Well, Howard, the driveway cut is within 10 feet, it has to be within 10 feet of the 24-inch poplar anyway, the trunk, right?
That's what I'm saying.
Joe, how far is the driveway cut from the trunk of that 24-inch poplar, like 10 feet?
Looks like 20 feet. Oh, maybe 15 feet?
15 feet?
15 to 20 feet?
So you're going to be into that?
I'm sure we could move that driveway slightly, right? We could shift that driveway just to the west. One of the things I was just talking to TR about is we could, probably would help with put the silt or the protection fencing on our plan. We'll take off some of the other stuff, and we may just add that, because that pretty well defines the disturbance. Even if you don't read the contours, they pick up the protection fencing pretty well. I'm sorry, there's just a lot of information to try and show on these plans, and it's tough.
I understand, but we have to do the same for all. We're not trying to be an obstacle, but this is what we do, is.
I just want your recommendation again, yeah.
Mr. Norsini, can we make the same recommendation here as we did with the previous 2 properties?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I think that would be appropriate to move that way in all 3.
Okay?
I'll see you next month.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, sorry to hold us all up this late into the evening, but 1300 Eagle Road, there was 14 hazardous trees removed. approved by Township Arborist, and 841, 9 trees removed, also approved by Township Arborist. Any other items for the discussion tonight?
Question about, somebody was supposed to come in front of us for some trees that were removed. I didn't,
Oh, yeah.
2 notes.
Yep, you're right.
Where did that go?
Scott's Tree Service and Kingsley.
Right.
Planet, right?
How do we proceed with that?
There are 2 other items that weren't on the agenda, but we would like to discuss with the Director of Public Works, Scott Tree Service and King Kiner Tree Service. Apparently, both of those arborists took down trees greater than 6 inches DBH. Is there any further word on how the township is proceeding with those 2 arborist companies?
I'll have to check with Mrs. Cassidy. We sent them the clearing permit application, and they're going to have to appear in front of this commission.
Okay.
So my hope is to get them here for the next meeting. I'll see where all this stands at this point.
Okay.
And we intend to continue in this fashion when we find arborists working in this way.
No, we appreciate, this kind of action. This is a network, so to speak, and once word gets out that Radnor is serious, then hopefully some of this shuts down. Okay, any other?
No, sir.
Okay, thank you.